Well, Dr. Rosenberger, why don't we start with you just talking about your background? I think you said your family had been in Georgia a long time, and why don't you just talk a little bit about your family, where you came from originally?
Well, my family, which is my wife Melody and son Rich, grandson, have been in Ackworth. But my parents were third generation Californians.
Oh, okay.
And so I was a war baby. I was born right at the start of World War II. And we traveled from airbase to airbase to airbase. And California, New Mexico, Texas, Arkansas.
Okay, so you grew up
Kept
in
going east.
California then.
I grew up in California. Went to
Okay.
school out there and we did water sports, and winter sports, and
Uh-huh.
as a family, a lot of great experiences there.
Okay. You know, your father was in the military?
Well, he was a physician, but in the military, so
I see.
worked at hospitals.
Okay, so you're the second generation to be in the medical field then?
Well, the third, really.
The third. So your grandfather was also a
Yes, sir.
physician? Well, you didn't have any choice, did you, on what you were going to do?
Well, I just grew up interested in medicine.
Uh-huh.
I loved science and chemistry
Uh-huh.
and physics, and I just seemed to gravitate toward the biological sciences.
Mm-hmm. What year were you born?
41.
41, okay. And so right, exactly, World War II.
Yeah, two months later.
And say that again?
2 months after I was born, we were at war.
Oh yeah, right. So so your father was which branch was he in?
The Army Air Corps.
Okay. And so you traveled with him to the different bases.
All
the
the
family
different-
traveled.
Right.
Okay. But talk a little bit about what your recreation that you were mentioning a little bit earlier. You like to be out in the great outdoors. It
I do.
sounded.
Well, swimming was my sport, and water polo, and the beach. We were close to the beach, and surfing, water skiing,
Mm-hmm.
just boating, sailing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we learned to ski as a family,
Uh-huh.
and we would go with another family, travel around to different places, but
Yeah.
a lot of good memories.
I think I saw that something that people may not know about you. You were a swimming instructor.
Yes, sir.
Talk about that.
Well, it was a lot of fun. These little kids that couldn't swim, and to get them to swim, learning to swim was
Mm-hmm.
very rewarding, and because they felt super when they could swim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was a lifeguard at various places.
So you spent the 40s and 50s in California all
Yes,
that
sir.
time,
Mm-hmm.
and why don't you just talk a little bit about it, where you went to school and those kinds of things.
Well, I attended Stanford University,
Mhm.
and then University of Southern California School of Medicine.
Uh-huh.
And I decided to go east and went to the largest medical center in the world, the Texas Medical Center, to do the internship residency.
Mhm.
And
From California going to Texas
Yeah,
is
it
going
was-
east.
a change.
Right.
Everything's bigger and better.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Southern California Medical School, why did you go there?
I thought I wanted to live there and practice in the community there, and
Mm-hmm.
it's always good
The
to
Los
get from
Angeles area?
the Los Angeles area.
Mm-hmm.
So that's primarily why I chose that.
But you changed your mind?
Yeah, after 4 years, I thought I needed a change.
Mm-hmm. Talk about, well, first of all, you graduated from medical school, but had you already decided that you wanted to, I guess, be in family medical practice? How did that come
Not
about?
at that time. Because back then everybody specialized. You became an ophthalmologist or or some kind of specialist.
Mm-hmm.
And so general medicine wasn't really in
Wasn't in.
at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
when I came
41,
to
this would be like early 60s that you're going through medical
right,
school?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got drafted by the Army
Mm-hmm.
to go to Vietnam. They just
Wh-
pulled
wh-
us
what
right
year,
out.
What year was that?
That would have been 68.
68. So you were already out in
Yeah.
practice for a while by that time?
No, I had not.
Oh, so you go straight
I got pulled out of
from medical school?
the residency
From residency?
in Texas.
Oh, okay.
And got pulled out of that. Had to go to Fort Sam Houston, Fort Rucker, Alabama, for aviation medicine training. They taught us how to fly.
Uh-huh. Taught you how to fly?
Yeah, even a helicopter. And
You
wouldn't
you
wanna
can
fly.
pilot a helicopter?
No, not really.
Okay,
Fixed
so
wing.
let me make sure I've got this straight. You go to Baylor, isn't it?
Baylor
College of Medicine, and that's for your internship.
Yes, sir. And it was also the first year residency.
And okay, and then
And they had something called the Berry Plan. That was like a casino, really, a lottery.
uh-huh.
And so if you won, you could finish up training. And if you didn't, they just took you out and put you in Vietnam.
So you didn't win the lottery.
I didn't win the lottery, so
Okay, and so you go into the military. Which branch?
it was the Army.
The Army. Okay, and that's when you go to Houston for the Texas Medical Center.
No, this was after that.
Oh, it's after
I did all that
okay.
first, and then
Okay.
so I was already a doctor when I got to Vietnam.
Yeah.
And so
Okay. So you go into some special training with the military.
yes, they had a aviation medicine program,
Okay.
and it's a little different. The aviators have different problems,
Uh-huh.
and so we had to go to school to learn about that and the survival school, all that.
Okay, but you're in the Army, but you're training for aviation.
Aviation medicine.
Aviation
It was
medicine,
kind of a specialty in itself.
I guess. Okay.
And
So-
it was to treat pilots and the aviation community,
Mm-hmm.
the mechanics and everybody that's at the air base.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And which air base was it?
well, it was in the Delta at Vietnam, Mekong Delta on the Mekong River.
Yeah.
And it was just an airfield
Okay.
all by itself. And,
So what year are we talking about now?
this would be 69,
69 that you go to Vietnam
right?
and
It was right after the Tet Offensive, and
yeah,
so everybody's a little nervous.
I guess so.
But
And so you're in the Mekong River Delta at just at an air base.
yes,
And so you're treating everybody that's there, I guess.
right. And even Vietnamese would come to our clinic. We would treat them, and
What kind of clinic was it? The military's running, I guess. How big is it? And how primitive, I guess I should say, is it?
well, it was a building that we had 3 doctors there,
Mm-hmm.
and then we had medics that worked under us. We each had 5 medics, and they would all see patients, and we would see patients.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of Vietnamese would come to our clinic, as well as our Army guys.
Yeah.
So
Let's see if we can.
we would go out to the convents and treat orphans
Wow.
because they had nobody. It was very sad, all these orphans, no parents.
Wow.
And
Wow.
So there was a lot of community stuff that we did
Sure. How long were you in Vietnam?
for a year.
Hmm. So even the
And-
military, it's 1 year and you're gone?
Right. Or we had a 6-month thing. There was 6 months where I was at a MASH hospital. We did a lot of surgery, gunshot wounds.
Oh my goodness.
And this AK-47s made these huge exit wounds, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So our job was to go in and cut out all the dead stuff. And they'd have a big tunnel through their arm. And
Wow.
it was really sad.
I guess so. Yeah.
So 6 months of gunshot wounds.
Yeah. 6 months of gunshot wounds, but you're also dealing during your year there with the local people and their health problems.
Yes.
What kind of health problems, I guess, were typical for the people?
Vietnamese. We treated the Viet Cong too. They would come in the black pajamas. We would treat them, and then the MP would be with them, you know. So as soon as we got done with them, the MP would take them away to whatever.
So they had their battlefield wounds also, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
And the people had a lot of parasites. It seemed to be the biggest problem. Intestinal parasites.
These are like peasants or farmers?
Just the regular people, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And most people were just regular people, rice farmers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. What kind of facilities did you have? The modern, up-to-date equipment, or you just?
Well, they were Quonset huts.
That's what I was wondering, if there was Quonset huts.
Kind of like, you know,
yeah.
on TV, the MASH
Mm-hmm.
had little Quonset huts, and with OR, just huge OR. That's basically what we were.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the Chinook would bring in 24, 25 casualties, and they'd unload them, and then we'd be busy for.
Mm-hmm. How close were you to the battlefields? I know the battlefields were all over creation when you've got a guerrilla war taking place. But I guess my question is, how dangerous was it to be working where you were working?
The MASH hospital was next to an Air Force base and a Navy base.
Mm-hmm.
So we saw a lot of the Navy little gunboat fellas would come in, and it was pretty safe right around the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
But the perimeter, you know, the Viet Cong at night, you could see we'd get mortared at night, maybe 4 nights a week.
Mm-hmm.
So we had sandbags all over our sleeping quarters, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so you never quite knew what was coming.
Sure. You got two Bronze Stars.
Yes, sir.
Talk about that.
Well, I don't know what it was for. I didn't receive them until I got to Atlanta.
Okay.
And so.
But for
I just
meritorious
did my job.
service.
I didn't really do anything heroic.
Mm-hmm.
I did volunteer to go on some missions.
Did you really?
They were pretty exciting, up into Cambodia, where we weren't supposed to be,
Okay.
according to the president. No, we're not in Cambodia.
Oh, but you
we were.
Mm-hmm.
These fire bases, so loud, unbelievably loud.
Yeah. So you volunteered to go on the missions?
I did.
Well,
I felt like it would help the esprit de corps, you know.
sure.
Support the guys.
Mm-hmm. How long did these missions last? A week or?
Well, no, it would be just a day trip,
Mm-hmm.
usually by helicopter.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. But you're not piloting it. you're along on the trip. And I wrote down something I didn't understand. A Glomar Challenger. What was?
Oh, that was an oceanographic vessel
Okay.
that I worked on. I actually had a couple months between the Army and when I couldn't start another year because the Army had drafted me. So I had this opportunity to take the maiden voyage on the Glomar Challenger, the world's most sophisticated oceanographic vessel at the time.
Wow.
And they drilled through the bottom of the ocean, 20,000 feet down, because they had this GPS system. It's like probably the first one on a ship. And they could stay right over the same place and drill. And they went across the Atlantic Ocean and discovered the continents, or they proved the Atlantic was separating because the cores would get younger and younger and younger as they got toward the center.
Wow.
So they proved that the continents separated.
Wow. Wow. That had to be interesting.
It was very interesting. These oceanographers from Woods Hole in Massachusetts and Scripps, California.
Wow. So what year did you get out of the military?
In 70.
In 70. So it's not long from there until you're in Ackworth.
It was. We had the Army hospital, we had a facility up here at the lake. And so a group of us would come up and water ski and do boating and just loved it. And I got to know people in Ackworth. Met Dr. Cobble and talked to him, and he was very welcoming. Said, "Sure, come on up." And when I got out of the military, I had to decide whether to go back to California, where my family was, and where I kind of knew the landscape, or stay here. And I'd worked around different cities, Conyers and Cordele and places in Georgia.
Oh.
But this area, there's something about the people that's so special up here. And I joined a 8-man group in Woodstock because I didn't have enough money to start a practice here. But within a few months, I had talked them into opening an office in Ackworth, and the bank building was available.
So you're in the bank building.
We were in the bank building. Bob Lambert was the other guy that came over. We'd split the day and go to Woodstock and back to Ackworth.
Okay. So you and Dr. Lambert were the two together in practice here?
Right. He was a surgeon, did a lot of office surgery. And I got on the staff at Wellstar, Kennestone. And so I split the day, about a third of the day here, a third of the day at Kennestone, a third of the day at Woodstock, South Cherokee County, for about 25 years. And
you were all three places each day?
every day.
Wow.
Sometimes twice that. I'd have to go back to the hospital several times.
Well, tell me a little bit about Dr. Cobble.
Great guy. Helped me and my wife more than anybody in this city. And he and Vivian were wonderful.
So he wasn't worried about competition, it sounds like.
Oh no, he was so great to send us his overflow. He was just covered up, and he'd just send his overflow down, and when he went out of town, we would see his patients and send them back. And we had a great relationship, I thought, great friendship.
Yeah. Now, why did you decide on family medicine?
There was a need for that. And the government, even the federal government, was paying large sums of money to come to Appalachia, which Cherokee County and Ackworth up there, all that's part of Appalachia. And I didn't take advantage of it because you had to sign a 10-year contract. But I thought, they're so desperate for family doctors here. Why not just do that?
Yeah.
Because I enjoyed every part of medicine. I didn't want to limit myself to one to ophthalmology or some subspecialty.
Right.
And so that's how I kind of got interested trying to crank out more general doctors.
Mm-hmm.
Joined the Georgia Medical Care Foundation.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. You say you joined it. Did somebody in?
Yeah, I was invited. I think because of the area,
Mm-hmm.
they had somebody from every area of Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of a South Cherokee, North Cobb
Mm-hmm.
person, and it was real interesting, you know, and we worked for Medicare, Medicaid, Blue Cross, and
Mm-hmm.
politicians, like committees that were healthcare oriented, that wanted to know what do we need to do
Mm-hmm.
to help medical care in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And we helped get Mercer family medicine program going, because they weren't,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't have a program there.
And I
And then Mercer,
think I wrote down there
And then-
15 of you all from across the state that made up the
yes, sir.
foundation.
Uh-huh.
And so you're all
And-
appointed by somebody or selected by somebody?
I don't know how they selected us,
But you, at any rate, it's a small group.
yes, I represented the South Cherokee, North Cobb area. I think that was probably the reason they asked me to join. But
Mm-hmm. And well, you've talked about several different things that we can get into, but I guess you mentioned Mercer. Why don't we talk about that for a little while? How that came about?
well, we had been pushing Emory as a group to get a family medicine program started. They didn't have one.
They didn't.
And then, yeah, back then, it was all specialists.
Uh-huh.
And
But the Medical College of Georgia have had family medicine.
you know, I'm not sure the exact year they started their department.
So that was something brand new then.
It was a new specialty at that time.
Huh.
And so I had to get specialized. I had to take extra training and take a test.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically I became a specialist in family medicine.
Mm-hmm.
But Mercer was just getting started with their medical school. It was a primary care medicine medical school.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you were going to do, basically, if you went there. And so we got interested in that, in pushing that, and a lot of us joined the faculty at Mercer.
Mm-hmm.
And
So Mercer's thinking there's this huge need throughout the rural areas as well as the towns and
absolutely,
cities.
it's a big problem.
And so it's almost like a part of their mission, I guess.
That was their mission.
Mm-hmm. But I was thinking for the whole school, perhaps, a mission of serving the needs of people in Georgia.
Exactly.
Okay. And so, you become part of the faculty for a number of years.
Yeah, there's a family, community science and family medicine department at Mercer.
Mm-hmm. And you would go down there to Macon to teach?
I would go to Macon, and they had meetings that we would go to, and classes. My wife was from that area, so it worked out real well.
Mm-hmm.
But the main classroom is our offices, and the students would come out to our offices all over the state and get to know the rural areas.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really important, I thought, for freshmen, sophomores.
Yeah.
Because when I was in med school, we didn't see a patient
Right.
until we were like juniors, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
it was great, I thought.
Mm-hmm. A whole lot of basic science, I guess, in your first couple of years of medical school.
That's all it is, you know, anatomy, and then you do physiology and
Right.
all
So
this.
you've got students from Mercer that are coming here even before they're juniors? Is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
they were freshmen.
As freshmen?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
And sophomores. They could come back every year for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
the same ones. We had a lot of the same students come
That's
back.
a good way to find out whether you really want
And,
to do it or not, I guess.
So some of them, I know a lot of them stayed out in the rural areas.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, one of the Mercer students bought my practice. That was my exit plan.
Mm-hmm.
And he and his wife, he was a MBA and entrepreneur, had a lot of experience
Mm-hmm.
with business, wanted to take the practice to a new level. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, what I didn't know is he was going to move the practice to Cartersville. And
Oh.
so that was very sad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Very sad.
So you've just recently retired, is it?
Yes, but legally I couldn't go back to the same building.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't compete within
Right.
30 miles of them, and
Mm-hmm.
so they had all the insurance contracts and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and we couldn't do the insurance anymore. So my wife and I just came back to do people without insurance,
Mm-hmm.
because there was a lot of people without insurance,
Yeah.
and they were just going to the emergency room and
Mm-hmm.
so forth to get care,
Mm-hmm.
and we felt there was a need there.
Yeah. So you're still doing that?
Well, that's what we retired.
Or
Finally.
you're retired
We
from?
finally retired
Mm-hmm.
from all of it
I see. When did you sell the practice?
back in 2000.
Oh, okay. So you've been treating people who don't have insurance since 2000?
Well, 2004
Uh-huh.
is when we started, came back, and
A long time at any rate.
yeah, there was a period where we weren't here. In fact, I was doing locum tenens. I'd go up to Jasper up here and work for a group of doctors,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I was out of Ackworth.
Yeah. Tell me about your wife. She moved here in '76, is that right?
Yeah, we got married,
Melody?
and she moved in to Ackworth. She was from the Macon area.
Mm-hmm. How'd you meet her?
She was a nurse, an RN, and we were working together, and she was the best nurse I'd ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Just regular Florence Nightingale. And she kind of basically ran our office and
Uh-huh.
so forth.
Yeah. Wow. And then your son, is his name Rich, did you say?
Rich,
He's born in '77 and
that's correct.
wow. Wow. So he's getting
He's getting up there.
getting up there now, isn't he? Talk a bit when you were in practice in Woodstock and Ackworth and Kennestone. You were chair, as I understand it, of the family medicine department for a while at Kennestone.
I was.
Talk about that.
It was way back in the late 70s, early 80s time period. And
How big a department was it?
I think we had about 10 members.
10. Okay.
They were all MDs, and that was one of the big things that happened while I was there. We had 2 osteopath DOs apply for privileges in our department, so I had to go to the executive committee and convince them that these were adequately trained doctors and should be admitted to should have privileges. And of course, it was all MD staff, and I think it was even in the bylaws that to get on the staff you had to be an MD. So this was kind of a big thing for the hospital to approve, and they did. And the other situation was the OB. We had some members that wanted to deliver babies and had extra training and were adequately trained, and the OB department was violently opposed.
Why?
Because Well, it was in the bylaws, you had to be board certified obstetrician
Okay.
to deliver a baby at Kennestone. So they had to change all that. And
Well,
it wasn't very popular with some of the...
I imagine that people in family medicine out in the rural areas had been delivering babies for years.
Sure. And now, of course, we've got midwives and nurse practitioners delivering babies. So they really opened the floodgates for privileges at the hospital.
So you had to engage in a fight then.
It was a fight.
But you won.
We did.
Okay. How long did you continue to chair that department?
I think it was a couple of years, as I recall.
But and
We try to rotate it around between the members.
Okay. But you've stayed affiliated with Kennestone for your career?
I'm still on the staff.
Okay. Okay. Now, how does Fort McPherson Army Hospital fit into your history?
Well, it was a year in the hospital, and
Oh, that's the year right after you got back from Vietnam?
Yes. Another year in the hospital.
Okay. And let's see, when you were up in Woodstock, you had mentioned a 22-bed hospital. What was that hospital?
Cherokee Automatic Hospital.
Okay.
It was round, and it looked like a flying saucer, and very efficient. The patients were all around.
Yeah.
The doctors were in the middle, and
Okay.
there were 4 surgeons and 4 medical doctors there.
Okay.
So,
Where was it located?
well, right on Arnold Mill Road there, by the red light.
Okay.
What happened was Northside Hospital bought the hospital, the Cherokee Automatic Hospital, and all they wanted was the 22 beds, so they tore it down.
Oh.
And put up a nursing home instead. But they wanted to add 22 beds to their hospital up in Canton. So that took care of that hospital, which was unfortunate.
Now, Dr. Lambert, he left Ackworth.
That's right. He left Ackworth and went to Kennesaw, opened an office there.
Not exactly a long way to go.
No. But he lived in Kennesaw.
Okay.
And it was very close to his house. And so I'm not sure why he left, really, but...
So you continue to work in both South Cherokee and Ackworth. I've got down until 1995.
Yes, sir.
And then after that, you didn't go to Woodstock anymore?
I stopped going over to South Cherokee. And just stayed here, and then between here and Kennestone. So that simplified things quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you were you've been very much involved in the community over the years. Why don't you talk about service on the Downtown Development Authority? How did that come about?
Well, I had a little more time, and I got more interested in things, the downtown, and joined the DDA, and it was about the early teens, and KSU had done a big study at the business school about what did Ackworth need.
Yeah. And
they decided we needed events.
Events.
Number one. And number two, landscaping on Main Street. So the Tree Commission was trying to do that.
Yeah. Do you know who did the study? You say in the Coles College of Business? You remember? You don't know?
I don't remember the names.
Okay.
Of the individuals.
But they did a study and really about how to revive downtown Ackworth.
Exactly. Right. It was not quite turned around at that.
Mm-hmm.
It was sort of like a battleship that was part way around.
Okay.
But we needed some more help.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the events, like the Art Fest, they mentioned downtown. We'd been having things at the lake, love the lake, and smoke on the lake.
Yeah.
Events downtown we really weren't doing.
Mm-hmm.
So Taste of Ackworth,
Yeah.
the Turkey Chase, all these things,
Mhm.
Oktoberfest
Yeah.
got started, and before the amphitheater was finished, and
Yeah.
things started moving to the amphitheater.
Um, Now, so the arts festival, part of that.
Yeah, that came about. Somebody knew the Splash people that had started the Dunwoody Art Festival,
Mm-hmm.
and went to them to see if they'd be interested in starting an art festival in Ackworth.
Mm-hmm.
So fortunately they did, and it's been a big success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The tree commission, was that under the DDA?
No, it was kind of separate. I think it was created by the mayor, Mike Donahue, back around the late 70s sometime.
Oh, it's been around a long time
Yes.
now. Mm-hmm.
We were, there were a couple of conservationists, myself and Temple Green Knaus.
Mm-hmm.
She was really a Ackworth superstar.
Temple Green.
Temple Green Knaus.
Mm-hmm.
She was voted the #1 forest conservationist in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good. And she was invited to the Washington, D.C. Arbor Day celebration to plant a tree from Georgia by Wyche Fowler, Senator
Oh,
Fowler.
yeah. Uh-huh.
So, I mean, she was really a superstar.
Wow. And so, what all did the tree commission do in Ackworth?
We planted trees and tried to stop the destruction of trees.
Uh-huh.
The clear cutting of subdivisions, these developers would come in and just clear cut 100 acres, you know, and actually Mayor Donahue passed an ordinance with the city council to prevent this sort of thing. If you
Yeah.
tore down a tree, you'd have to plant another tree,
Right.
and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't nail signs on trees,
Yeah.
just things like that.
Right.
And we started the Arbor Day celebration
Mm-hmm.
and would invite a politician to plant a tree
Okay.
to get some publicity for the trees.
Mm-hmm. Talk about the Arbor Day celebration. What exactly was that?
Well, our Arbor Day celebration includes the kids from the elementary schools drawing pictures of a tree.
Oh, so that's the Arbor Day art that.
The Arbor Day art.
Uh-huh.
They would draw a picture of a tree there was a theme, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and what do trees do for us, and just all kinds of
Mm-hmm.
wonderful things
Mm-hmm.
in the environment, and amazing pictures from, you know, first grade up through sixth grade, and
Yeah.
now they have an adult age group also.
Mm-hmm.
So they all get to come to City Hall
Mm-hmm.
at the Georgia Arbor Day, and
Mm-hmm.
there's winners in each age group, and their pictures are shown on this big screen,
Mm-hmm.
and they get their pictures shown by merchants in town, and it's really been fun.
Yeah. Now, what's Tree City USA?
Well, that's just an award for protecting the environment. We have to document
Mm-hmm.
what we're doing, and Temple really got that for us.
Mm-hmm.
And Ackworth was pretty notorious for being a tree city at that time.
Mm-hmm. It's a little bit different subject, but the building facade grants in Ackworth,
Yes, tremendous.
how did that come about?
Well, the city agreed to pay half of our restoration fees, up to $5,000. to restore our buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And the historic preservation folks helped us. And then the University of Georgia, the Main Street program,
Mm-hmm.
actually had an architect that they'd send over,
Mm-hmm.
and they would do renditions of our buildings
Mm-hmm.
and show us what we needed to do. And so getting everybody to do it was the trick.
Okay. How many buildings got these facade grants?
I'm not sure how many buildings.
But most or a few?
I
Or?
would say most people took advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
There were absentee owners, or there were some people that weren't interested,
Mm-hmm.
so forth.
Yeah.
So there was some twisting of arms and
Mm-hmm.
so forth to get everybody on board.
But this was
it looks
to,
fantastic.
Yeah, to spruce up the facades of the buildings.
Yeah, it was sort of a helter-skelter,
Mm-hmm.
different architectural types and eclectic buildings, and everything just looked kind of disorganized.
Mm-hmm.
Now it looks beautiful.
Yeah, it does. You had mentioned that it sounds like your family has taken a lot of trips over the years. Why don't you talk about that a little bit? Where do you like to go to?
Well, we, as our family, we would learn sports, and then we would go with another one or two families to like a ski area, and we all skied together. The kids were kind of together, and the adults and so forth. So I remember all these trips, and we go to swim meets and and events. That was pretty much our trips.
Okay.
Surfing, we surfed as a family. My father took up surfing at his age, and
What, did your son follow in your footsteps, or did he want to do something different?
no, he's a graphic artist.
Okay. Where is he now? Does he still live in Ackworth?
He lives in Ackworth, and he has he does marketing for.
Mm-hmm. Great, great. Well, what makes Ackworth special for you, do you think? What's kept you here for 50 plus years?
Well, it's the caring, giving people here, most special people. And, you know, it starts with this phenomenal city government we have here, the best in Georgia. And the great mayor, Tommy Holligood, and city manager, great city council, and then all the commissions, and wonderful churches, spiritual leaders, and the groups, ABA and Kiwanis, Optimus, Rotary, and the nonprofits. My goodness, what a community! It's unbelievable. And they're all on the same page. It seems like, but there's this caring spirit where everybody's helping everybody else that I like.
Yeah. Well, what haven't we talked about that you'd like to tell us?
Just thank you for the privilege of being here all these years. And
Well, it's
thank
amazing.
my wife she was my better half and was with me the whole way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's amazing all that you've done, I think. That's
It's amazing what you've done.
well, appreciate you coming and letting us talk to you today, and appreciate all that you do.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Scott.